All right. Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Let's take a look and see what is happening with Bitcoin. So, on the daily, we kind of have a swing high-ish formation showing up, unfortunately. Um, wow. It's going to be really weird if it does retrace from here and we do get quite a fall. Um, Not quite at a level that I was expecting. The saving grace that we have right now is we are still within that fixed volume profile that I've shown you, and we'll pull up again in trading different. But um, we are bouncing off of weekly open, and we are bouncing off of 65,675, which that's the value area low of that range. Okay, so not all hope is lost just yet. If we do lose this, there is a good chance that we do fall quite hard. Okay, um, you know, the only thing about Monday being bullish is that there is a potential for the rest of the week to possibly be bearish. I would have liked to see Monday have more of a consolidation or, even more of a downward trend on Monday, but here we are. We pumped quite hard and we got up to about 67, what was it, 67, 256. So it looks like now we're kind of rejecting off of this 21 in May on the daily. Let's go ahead and look at like the 8 hour and the 4 hour and see where we're at here. So in theory, this could potentially be in the flag. I'm assuming that this looks a little bit better on the 4 hour. We are on the daily, we are pumping below or basically dumping, I should say, below the daily, which is, a decent sign. So we could get a reversal tomorrow. Right now is Asia session. So come midnight, in London session, we could hopefully start seeing some more consolidation, maybe just a little bit of a move back up. I do not want to see this get violent during Asia or London session. I would like to see this, basically kind of chop out until we have our New York session in the morning. Um, Ideally, if we're going to have a bullish day tomorrow. So that really is going to be kind of a deciding factor as to how this is going to play out, is how this acts overnight. Diving into the 4 hour, I mean, to me, this still looks like a nice flag. It just is really going to depend on if we can keep that low. That low is extreme. Right now it's going to be treated as pretty extreme resistance, just because that's our weekly open and that ties into our value area low of the current range we're in. So both of those things combined, that makes this a fairly, I would say a fairly good level of resistance as long as we can get a bounce off of it. Um, so ideally, what we want to see is we want to see this kind of pump up from here. So maybe going up to 67.4 up here. Let me mark this off here. Maybe seeing something like this. So that's what I would be shooting for if this is a bullish, basically a bullish pattern that we're in. I'd be shooting for 67, 466. Moving down into the 1 hour, not as beautiful of a pattern, right? You kind of have a little bit of a bear flag here that broke it down, but we are seeing, a potential for some tweezer bottoms, at least for right now. Whether or not it's going to close like this, I'm not 100% sure, but, that's a decent sign that we're getting some, support right off of this area. Um, 15-minute, you still have the same kind of deal here. This looks more like a, gosh, I don't even, it's kind of a Head and Shoulders. It's just kind of an ugly one. You have your shoulder, head, right, shoulder kind of thing. Um, so it might have already played out. I mean, this would technically kind of be your neckline right here, down to here, but it's really going to be dependent on whether or not this is like a bigger, shoulder, head, right shoulder type of pattern. If it's a bigger one, then obviously we're going to come down here, okay? Um, so not too bad looking. We could still be in a bullish, flag pattern. Let's go ahead and dive into liquidity though and see how that kind of measures up to where we're at here. Let's see here. All right, it's perfect. So going into liquidity, all right, so let's go ahead. We're in the daily. That's good. And let's go ahead and take a look and see where we're at here. All right, so as you can see, we are bouncing off of that value area low within our fixed range profile here. Good sign. We just need to make sure that we keep it. 65, 674. We start closing these, 4-hour, 8-hour candles below that. Then we start getting into, basically that other larger volume area profile, um, that basically expands us down to that 43K range. So ideally, I want to see us keep this, right? And if we do close some candles below it, that's fine, just as long as it's not like the 4 or the 8-hour. Let's see here. So when it comes to liquidity, we have some above us. So some people have started shorting, and let me make sure. Oh, I gotta check all of this off here. So 3x doesn't really have anything unless I probably really zoom in. I tend to ignore that one for larger time frame here. 5x, we do have quite a bit around 69K. So as you guys know, that's what I've been targeting is the 69, 640 area. 69K even basically is where this yellow line is where I've been targeting. And we do have some liquidity to get us up there. Okay, so this could still turn out to be a bullish week. We could still get up there. It's just going to really depend on what, as long as we can keep this value area low, I would say. Otherwise, let's say if we were to lose this, okay? If we were to lose this value area low, I would have to say that we're going to start, dealing with some of these fib levels. So first one I would pull would be from here. 63,762. We know that about that 63.3 level I've been targeting. And then down here we have 62,134, or around there. And then absolute worst case scenario, we take all of this out and drop down to 60,786. That's basically right around that line in the sand. We're going to revisit it again. So hopefully we don't get there. I mean, there's always a chance that we can go back there, but ideally, if we're going to stay bullish, we want to see consolidation up here. Okay. Let's go ahead and move into the 4-hour now. So the 4-hour, let's take a look at liquidity. Check off the 25. So yeah, I mean, you can see 25x still has that concentrated liquidity around 69K. We do have some liquidity down to 61,770-ish, it looks like. Checking off the 10x, it looks like, we have a better chance of taking this out above. If we're going to continue taking out the 10x, taking this out above before going down below, right? There's not as much concentrated liquidity to take us all the way down to 59K area on the 10x. So that's a good sign. 5x kind of shows the same thing. So one really good thing is that this liquidity pool is basically for, under the 5x, 10x, and 25x practically. So that's a pretty concentrated pool, which will probably be taken out sooner rather than later. Okay. All right, moving down into the 1-hour, let's see what we're going to do on the shorter term time frames here. So 1 hour, it looks like, we unfortunately do have some liquidity to the downside right below us. We took out this pool right here, basically stopped at its tracks because that's the value area low. We do still have, we're starting to have some bridging liquidity up above. So you can see here, even this is around that 67,500 I was talking about. This is 67,544. We have some real liquidity now. So we could easily, break out of this bull flag, if it is a bull flag, and then run all the way up and take this out. And we have some above us as well. So, I mean, we have enough to get to 69K, right? So that's a good thing with the 100x. We could very well take out all of this pool of liquidity, take out these, tweezer bottoms over here. That's all fine. I mean, this could still be bullish. It's just there's a lot of liquidity building up below us too, right? So we have to kind of keep that in mind. Thankfully, there are some support zones. It's just I just don't like the fact that if we lose our value area low, which it looks like we're testing again right now, there's not really strong support unless we reclaim it again, right? So I just don't like losing that area because it means that there could be a lot more downside potential. Okay. Finally, diving into the 15, what we can expect on a much shorter time frame here. 100x still shows that, at least we could probably go down, even test the 64,777 area, 64.8 area. We could just take out this yellow liquidity, hopefully bounce from there. But again, guys, I really want to make sure that we at least don't close candles below or on the higher time frame, that 65.6 area. 50x, again, we can revisit this area. So just know that around 65k there, that basically wipes out this pool, wipes out majority of the 50x, close by. Worst case scenario, we get down into here, but thankfully there's not a large bridge to get us even further than that. So, short term time being, it looks like 64.8 would be kind of our end of the line for the liquidity, at least for the 100x and the 50x. 25x around the same area. So there's quite a bit of concentrated 25x, 50x, and 100x around 64,777 or 64.8 around there. If we take a look at the orders, there's not really anything except for this one right here. If we do absorb it, we could possibly get a bounce, but there's not really anything stopping us from just kind of free falling if there aren't bigger orders that kind of come in place here. We do have a fairly large order around, let's see, what is this, 66,550. So that kind of aligns with this upper liquidity up here. And then we have some more orders kind of taking us above 67K over here. So a lot more liquidity to the upside, a lot more orders to the upside for the most part. The only bad thing about now having orders to the downside is if there are too many orders to the upside and there's not enough, buying pressure to get up through there, then we start collapsing and it will just start eating up all these orders down to the next zone. And usually an order will come in play and basically stop it, like, a random, large order. Like this was 723 Bitcoin that came into play and just kind of stopped it from falling. But that's what we would need to see to get that bounce, okay? So anyways, guys, I hope that you found this informative and helpful. As usual, I will talk to you guys in the morning. Take care and have a wonderful evening.